And also because of the fact that the water was named Sweetwater for a reason. It was actually a very drinkable source of water. And what I'd like to do is tell you today a little bit about it, and also take you on a virtual walk of the Sweetwater Branch Creek, which we are hoping to turn into a greenway, an amenity for the community. So we all have this opportunity to become a part of that conversation. So I hope you will join me in learning more and maybe becoming engaged, and we'll talk more about that at the end. So this area of town that the creek that we presently are discussing, and we'll be talking about other areas as well, is located in the Southeast Historic District of Gainesville. And as many of you may know, that's where the Bed and Breakfast District is located in town. Also, we'll be talking about areas further north, up into the Northeast Historic District, which is where the duck pond is located, where this gentleman is walking his dog. And actually, I pilfered this photo from an article that Harvey Ward wrote in an op-ed to the Gainesville Sun. So I'll actually quote Harvey a little later in my talk. Now, this gives you a little bit of an overview of where we're talking about. So here you can see the duck pond neighborhood, right? So here's University Avenue. Here's Main Street, and it does continue south, even though the yellow line's not there. This is on Google Maps. But so the duck pond neighborhood's here. You see this blue line coming down right through here? That is Sweetwater Creek flowing through the central part of Gainesville. Now, this would be, University here. And then right about there would be the Matheson, and right about there would be the library headquarters, the downtown library headquarters, right there. And they're neighbors of ours. But what I'd like to do now is take it back a notch and actually show you where the waters actually begin, the headwaters. So the Sweetwater Branch Watershed, this came from the Alachua County Environmental Department. And so up here, let me go back to that slide just a second there, right here. So this area is a wetland area that I'll show you a picture of later, but this map gives you a little bit of an idea of the watershed, okay? So the headwaters, as it's mentioned under fun facts, headwaters are located near Northwest 23rd Avenue and Northwest 6th Street. So we're talking up, this is 16th Avenue, that's 23rd Avenue, and this is Main Street. So Main and 23rd. Just below that is where the headwaters of the creek arise. And then this is the watershed. Then eventually it becomes, and let me show you a picture I took the other day of the watershed. This is a non-built upon, obviously, for obvious reasons, area of land that's just off of Main Street and just south of 23rd. So that gives you an idea of where the water starts to come from. Then on this slide, you can see where it says, Sweetwater Branch recharges the Floridian aquifer at the Alachua Sink in Paynes Prairie. And it's a very vital source during periods of drought for the continuation of the recharge of the Floridian aquifer. And as many of you know, the Sweetwater Park down there on Paynes Prairie, that's where this creek ends up flowing. And that, again, they did a lot of work there to be able to clean the water quality so that it can go into the Floridian aquifer in a clean state, as opposed to what it was previously, high in nitrates. This is an area right behind the Publix on North Main, near 16th and North Main. That area is where I first see it emerge, somewhere south of the original area I just described, where the watershed is. I've never seen an alligator in it. I have seen otters, and I've heard of other kinds of wildlife in the creek. But this, obviously, any body of water can have an alligator in it, no doubt. Then here, again, that's another image of that same area. So maybe I'm moving backwards. Here, let's move forward. Meanwhile, let's move forward. So here we go. Now, Sweetwater Branch Creek also serves not only as a conduit of this water through the city during calm times, but also during stormwater management times. As you can see in the duck pond, that's about as high as I've seen the water in the duck pond area. And that's not the pond, that's the creek. And then here's some areas where they've used concrete to direct the creek in the direction they want to have it go. Here's some other images. This was taken just after a 2-inch rainstorm in downtown Gainesville. And again, this is a better image of that one in Depot Park, or excuse me, at Duck Pond, I'm speaking, north of the Duck Pond. So what I'd like to do now is kind of tell you how I got involved in this project. And it's because I've been the president of the Matheson History Museum, finishing up on my 2nd year here in December. And it's a wonderful organization. I hope you all are aware of it and hope you all visit. We are open certain hours now of the week. You can go to our website and find out more information about our visitation hours and what we offer. Now, the Matheson History Museum, I'll go back to that building. That is the old 1932 American Legion Hall, which we acquired as our museum building. Now, the actual house where the family lived, that the museum's named after, is the Matheson, Chris and Sarah Matheson. Chris Matheson is the longest serving mayor in Gainesville history, and his wife Sarah, who outlived him by quite a number of years, she bequeathed the home to a trust, and upon her passing, the Matheson home was given to the Matheson Historic Trust. This home began in 1857 and completed in 1867. It's the 2nd oldest home in Gainesville, next to the Bailey House, that's still in existence, that's still standing. So also, I just want to show you this cute little tool shed we have behind the Matheson house that houses many tools from the late 1800s, mid 1800s into the early 1900s. And that's one of the things we offer tours of as well. So let me give you a little history about how I got involved. I become very good friends with Dr. Mark Barrow. I don't know if any of you know him. He began this process in 1993. He began discussions between himself, Richard Berry, who's a landscape architect in Gainesville, and also the city of Gainesville Parks and Rec. Dr. Barrow is considered the champion of this Sweetwater Branch Park, which would be a portion of the Greenway. We'll get into that more. Excuse me. Let's get back to that. Improvements of the park included closing 2 city streets and converting them to sidewalks, the Union Promenade and the Sweetwater Lane, and I'll show you pictures of those. So that provided safe pedestrian travel. There was sidewalks and lighting added, which was wonderful. And currently, in the current state, the park itself traverses from the Matheson History Museum at the north end, 513 East University Avenue, to Southeast 4th Avenue. And I'll show you some images of that in a moment. This is where the creek actually comes out from underneath University Avenue, where it's heading south. It's culverted, obviously, under University Avenue and another street, and it comes out north at the Thelma Bolton Center, as you may know, that area. But anyway, this is where it comes out of under University Avenue and reopens and daylights, as they say. Then as you go into the park, on the left would be the Matheson History Museum. On the right would be, right across the creek, is a headquarters, the headquarters of the library district. Right, and these flags represent flags that flew over Florida during the course of the history of Florida. However, there is not a Confederate flag there, as that would not be appropriate these days. But anyway, right next to that, Ken and Linda McGurn just recently put up a little piece of art and a memorial to the Vietnam veterans. And Ken served in the Vietnam War quite extensively, I understand. And these pieces of art mean a lot to him. And this is sort of the gateway to the park I'm describing currently, which would be a component of the Greenway. So as you head south on that Sweetwater Branch Lane, you're heading south now just from where we just were looking. And then you come up to the Union Promenade. Union Promenade was one of the roads that was closed. Here's the Sweetwater Branch Lane sign, but let me go back here and show you, this is the Union Promenade, which runs east-west through the property. And it comes out, the Matheson house is over there, and these cottages over here were restored by Cornelia Holbrook to work with her Sweetwater Branch Inn. Now we're heading south again. So this is a kind of a virtual walk down the trail. Here's a little, I stepped down to the creek to get an image of the creek. And this is what it looks like in this one particular location from where I just took that other photo. Now continuing, this picture actually looks north, but that's right behind me would be southeast second. So we're here now. Let's see, we would be coming from here to Southeast 2nd Avenue. That's right where I took that last photo looking north, right there. Okay, now if you're here and you're looking south now towards Depot Park and the Power District, then we're getting, this is the next segment you'd come across. Then you cross another road, Southeast 4th, or excuse me, 3rd, and then this section, which is probably my favorite section of the park, there's some topography over here that looks almost like you're in the mountains, maybe North Georgia or something like that. Right here is where the creek ends in terms of it being above ground and then goes under GRU property. This is where Ellie Blair told us she's painted several images of this area for some of her beautiful paintings. I imagine many of you are aware of her work and her fine craftsmanship and artistry. Well, now we're starting to talk about this area is where we just came from. All the green here you can see outlined. Can you see that, Sue? Is everybody seeing that? Okay, good, good. So that green area is all city-owned property. And so that's the area, see the blue line? That's the creek. That's where we just walked. We were heading this way, heading south. And we're heading, see that Southeast 4th Avenue? That's where it starts to go underground, okay? So let's go. Now we're in the Power District. I thought this cute piece of artwork would be something to introduce the Power District. They actually have this right there near the premises. Now this is the John R. Kelly generating station, which needs a few lights changed, I would say. I guess maybe it's not generating enough power. So anyway, that's part of the property there. Then this is where it goes underground, and right there it continues on underground. And I'm following where the creek would be if you could see it. Then I had to take this picture through a fence. It was blocked off. It's GRU property. Then more GRU property. Then there's actually some roads through there, but you can't get through any of that property there because it is fenced off and is a danger to us because of high voltage. Unbeknownst to citizens that might walk in there. Again, another view of the generating station, which, by the way, portions of that generating station are going to stay intact when they do the Power District remodel or renovation. But a big footprint of that area will be up for grabs in terms of how it's developed, and that's to be determined. And that's where citizen input is so vital. That's why I'm speaking to you today. Now, right here is another image as we're heading south. Now, once you walk, see the road that I'm on right here? I'm walking on that road. It continues south. As I turn the corner, I am now on Depot Road, and I'm looking towards Depot Park from there, okay? So we're heading towards Depot Park. We passed this building. It's the drones, where they develop drones. Peoria, I think, is the name of the company. And that was part of the revitalization that the city did, city-private partnership, I believe, to develop that building on the right there. But you can still see the old storage tanks for fuel for the generating station. Now there, I'm at the roundabout at the, what would that be? The corner of Depot Park. That would be the northeast corner of Depot Park. Now, if I cross the street from approximately where I just took the other photo, there's this big grid of metal. And underneath that big grid of metal is where Sweetwater Branch Creek comes out of the ground again, from underneath the Power District. So I've got some images here. This is an image. You can see this, that's Southeast 4th Avenue. North of that, it's above ground. Everything south of this here, all that dotted blue line, that's under GRU property. Then it reemerges at that picture I just showed you, south of Depot Avenue, right there, okay? Now this image, and I think I can move it around, yes. Right up here, you see that Southeast 4th Avenue, and you see the yellow, that's a 100-year floodplain right there. So the fact that it's going underneath and being culversized, or whatever the correct term is, encased in culvert, that causes some flooding, so potential. And so the idea of daylighting the creek, which is an image here, this is a conceptual image that was Edmund Jones, engineering firm, gave an estimate of what it would cost to daylight the creek. And this is an image of what it could look like through there, where there would be pedestrian travel, there would be some multi-use, mixed-use housing and office space below. In this view, I think there's probably 2 to 3 story buildings, which I think would be manageable and attractive to the local community there, but nothing more than that. I don't think they want to see 10-story high rises in this area. Now, here's another conceptual view. You can see now right here is Depot Park. But I will tell you, they did this conceptual drawing before Depot Park was finished. I don't know if you know about the Big Dig, how it took years for them to dig and remove all that toxic Superfund site in order to reclaim that area, to turn it into the beautiful park it is today. And if you can imagine, an appendage of that park could be all of this going north, heading north. This is south, this is north. And that could be, it's like a virtual chalkboard or drawing board. It could be whatever the community envisions. There's visioning sessions that are ongoing. They kind of have taken a break, but they're still, it'll crank back up very soon. Now, we're going to kind of take a U-turn and head back north, but we're going to go a little bit further east. And so we'll be on southeast. Let me go back to a map here real quickly. Where's my map? This might give you enough image. So we're going to be turning back this way and heading north on southeast 7th Street. There it is, 7th Street, right there. That's 6, but it's going to be right next to that. Okay, so let's go back. And I apologize for the randomness of the movement here. Now, this is a really interesting area near the bed and breakfast district. We pass it before we get into the bed and breakfast district. It's near the Spring Hill community, and they have a community garden. And it's a beautiful community garden. It's very well attended by its local neighbors who garden there. And it's something that's, to them, non-negotiable in terms of that cannot go away when they do all this revitalization or repurposing of this land. So that's going to stay. Heading a little further north back to this bed and breakfast district that I mentioned earlier, we're now getting into the areas where the Magnolia Plantation is and where you would see the Sweetwater Branch Inn. This is off of University Avenue, but all of this would be just east of these bed and breakfasts that I'm talking about, but I'm talking about a block or less, so very close. These are some cottages that abut to the creek. There's some space, but there's wide open space in the creek. And these are cottages that Cornelia Holbrook just purchased from the Matheson and turned them into beautiful bed and breakfast cottages. If the cottages were on your left, this is an entryway back into the park. And again, another picture of Sweetwater Branch Inn from the university. Crossing University, you see the old Kirby Smith or the Alachua County district headquarters, school district headquarters. Now, I have some missing slides, so we kind of took a big jump from over there at University Avenue to the duck pond. This is a picture of the duck pond looking south, where it goes underground here across the road, but then comes out again in all that growth where you can't even appreciate the creek. So this is looking north at the duck pond, which it was a very beautiful. I took this photo yesterday. It was a beautiful day for that photo, and I think it turned out nicely. This is when you follow the Sweetwater Branch Creek north through the duck pond, it eventually comes from here. And this is facing Main Street, okay, from the duck pond. And so this is where the water comes out from under Main Street and goes into the duck pond. Here's the other side of it facing towards the duck pond. Now, one thing I'm making a little aside here. There's talk about if we make this greenway come all the way from the Depot Park, through the Power District, through the park that already exists near the Matheson, then follow in through the duck pond, and then we'd be crossing the duck pond, crossing Main Street here. Before I go to that, there also is talk about a little spur of the trail, bike trail, pedestrian trail, would go through a neighborhood in the duck pond, and it could come out to Tom Petty Park. So we're talking about connectivity here. We're talking about ways for people to get around by foot, bicycle, non-automobile travel. And one of the things I've been learning a lot during this process is how walkable communities are so vital to invigorating a community and bringing a lot of young creatives that want to really build a community. And now here we've crossed Main Street. Now we're over at the Cypress and Grove Brewery on 10th Avenue. Right next to that is the 6th Street Trail. So that's looking north on 6th Street Trail. And I just turned around, took a photo heading south. That's south on 6th Street Trail. This is the old rails to trails that was converted to a bicycle and pedestrian path. And by the way, there were people on it. I just didn't have a picture with anybody on it at the time, but I saw some people traveling down it. Now, as we go a little further south, now there's the old train depot. I don't know if you remember, that was the old train depot on 6th Street. That's where the train came. I actually took it when I was a kid to Waldo for a field trip in 1st grade. It was exciting. Then here where I'm turning back as I was in traffic, and there's the Blunt Center. That's Santa Fe's new Blunt Center. That's right on the 6th Street Trail. So Santa Fe has 2 properties currently on the 6th Street Trail that would, for students. This is going south again, just in that Innovation Square area, and we're Midtown, what they call Midtown now. So that's the 6th Street Trail right along here, heading south. If you continue to follow it south, it eventually ends up on Depot Road, at Depot Road, I should say. Now I went around the roundabout. Now I'm heading east on Depot Road, back towards the Cade Museum and Depot Park. So I've kind of taken you on a full circle from Depot Park north along the Sweetwater Branch Greenway, all the way through across Main Street over to, behind the old Gainesville Shopping Center where the Publix is up there. Behind that, Cypress and Grove. Now back on the 6th Street Trail. Now, what I'd like to give you at this point is a quote from, this is from Harvey Ward, who's a city commissioner. And so whatever we do to make the best use of this resource, and he's mostly referring to the whole Sweetwater Branch Greenway and the Power District, this will require a great deal of private thinking and public dialogue. Our best civil engineering and city planning and our values will be on display for future generations. Meanwhile, Sweetwater Branch will keep flowing one way or another and will bear witness to whatever work we do or leave undone. I hope we will intentionally use the opportunity to leave behind a better Gainesville. So with that, I would like to just offer, if you are interested in learning more about this wonderful, what I think is a wonderful idea, an opportunity for developing downtown Gainesville in a very ecologically friendly, a very pedestrian and family friendly way. It would be very attractive to bringing people to the downtown area in terms of tourism and for living. People want to live there near these kinds of things. Please put your contact information in the chat, and Sue will make sure I get your contact information, and I can keep you abreast of any upcoming events, activities, anything related to the park going forward. And with that, Sue, I'd like to open that up to questions, or if you have another call, I'm going to let you take the mic again.
Okay, could we start by you stopping sharing? There we go.
Yes.
Great. All right, so why don't we just do a quick visual? If you have a question, just put your hand up on the screen and I'll just call on you, okay? I think it's the easiest way with this crowd. So anybody got a question? All right, Alan, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
I'm just wondering about flooding. You showed some of the 100-year flood cycle. Is that anticipated to be controlled if you open this up? And what kind of a planning does that mandate in a sense?
Good question, Alan. Although I'm not an engineer, I would say that I think based upon the fact that it gets put into these smaller culverts, it seems to be a log jam area there. Luckily, most of that area where you saw the flooding, the potential floodplain, that is not in the actual area that's currently built on, and I don't think it would be built on. So that shouldn't present a problem, at least in the currently. Now, when they daylight the creek, which I hope would also help resolve some of this issue you just mentioned, that would have to be addressed, obviously, to make sure it didn't flood into the area they're developing there. But my imagination is once they open up that system of culverts and widen the creek and do some amenities like they did in and actually, if you've seen the duck pond area, years ago, they just had it in basically a ditch. Then they did a nice meandering of it, a way to control water flow, the speed of water flow. So Alan, I think that's an excellent question. And then I think it will be addressed through the engineering of the power district.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Celia, I see your hand is up.
Yeah. You just mentioned the engineering of the power district. I understand there's a lot of brownfield and contaminated ground there, just like there was at Depot Park. Do you know if there's anything that's anything in the plans to take care of that? Do we sell it with the brownfield? They have this Collier International supposedly selling the property. Do they buy the brownfield and clean it up, or does the city clean it up first?
Another great question. I think the devil's in the details there, Celia. I'm not sure. I don't have a good answer, to be honest with you, for that question. You are correct. It is a brownfield site. I'm not sure if the contamination levels are as bad as it was over there at the Depot Park, where they had to dig down quite a ways to get to non-contaminated soil. What I've heard is that if there's sources of funds, anything can be fixed. Then that, of course, that again revolves around finding funding for this. However, they did find the funding for the depot, so I imagine they could find it for this. That was one of the concerns about the daylighting aspect for sure. But I think it's going to be an issue going forward with all the land. You are correct. There had been discussions with Colliers International about them being the realtor to sell to a developer. I think that is being kind of slowed down because of public comment. That's one of the things I'm involved with. I began a steering committee of all the pertinent stakeholders, as Sue mentioned earlier. We have Vivian Filer from the Spring Hill community. We have a participant, Melissa Montilla, from the bed and breakfast area. We have, just working our way up the chain all the way. Cornelia Holbrooks on our steering committee. Then we have a representative from the duck pond. So all those issues are being looked at, and we do want to have a broader reach, though, out to people like you that have interest to let you know how you can talk to your local representatives and let them know what you think, so they get your input. So I'm encouraging everyone to please give me your contact, and I will make sure you get the latest information. But Celia, I can't answer that question really well, but I think that's my roundabout answer.
Yeah. I've heard one suggestion that they just make the whole thing into a park. They talk about there's not enough stuff for kids to do, teenagers. They could make a, the skateboard park, and that wouldn't require digging up the dirt. You could just do it, plant grass and trees, and make it an ecological district for instead of more high rises, which is what the plan had from the city.
Correct. Sounds like you've been following this closely. And I'm more interested in I'm interested in learning what you just described to me more about that idea, because also, I don't know if you know the Larson brothers who did the 4th Avenue Food Park.
Yes.
They also wanted to do something a little more low tech and low scale without building any high rises anywhere. So there's some things out there. I think that's where the city needs our leadership. They need to hear from us, so that they're not just doing what they think is right.
Yeah, they presented something to the city commission and to the historical district group that's been looking at this for a 2-acre space for another coffee shop and a bookstore, and local development. That's what we want, local developers instead of an international company opening it up to international real estate developers that know nothing about Gainesville.
Yes. Yes.
And keep it local and keep it small.
I think that's an excellent point. And that's where community involvement is going to be so vital, that they hear these voices and know that we're their constituents and we're the people that vote, and they need to hear that.
I was at a GCRA meeting just last week, and somebody was talking about the Celebration Point. Everybody's going to Celebration Point now. And I said, yeah, because there's no parking downtown.
Good point. And one of the things I'd like to bring home too is that the Power District is just a district that they labeled, but it's in the Southeast Historic District. It's the broader context is the Southeast Historic District. So I think whatever happens there needs to be representative of that.
Yeah, we agree.
Thank you.
Alan? Go
And I
ahead.
got lost on that, on the mapping and geography going south. Does this go all the way to what I always call the Williston Cutoff, but it's the circumnavigating South Road, and enter the Sweetwater Wetlands Park all the way down there? Does the Greenway extend that far?
Good. Another, you guys are full of great questions. That is actually the long range goal, is for there to be a connector, because all that land that follows along the creek, there's a city or county easement. I think it's all in city. Well, maybe flows out in the county some too, but I think there's an easement there for access to it. And so there could be a Greenway park all the way to Sweetwater Park out there on Paynes Prairie. Yes, sir.
I think that would be fabulous.
I agree.
Yeah, you didn't, Greg, Jeff Shapiro here. You didn't discuss what happens south of Depot Park. Isn't the effluent from the water treatment plant, of course, is put into Sweetwater? Is that right?
Correct.
And it goes south on the, is it on the east side then of the park? It continues south?
Well, the park, when I refer to there's the park and then the Greenway. The park is the existing park that's north of Southeast 4th, north of the Power District. The Greenway actually would extend could, and as Alan brought up, could extend all the way down to Sweetwater Park. Yes, the effluent from that South Main sewage treatment plant does dump into Sweetwater Creek down there south of, and then goes across Williston Road, under Williston Road, then follows along Williston, and then comes out at Sweetwater Park. However, the whole idea of the Sweetwater Park down on Paynes Prairie, it was a solution to saving about half of the cost to build a beautiful park and not have to upgrade the sewage treatment plant. So it was a win-win. We got a beautiful park for half the cost of solving that problem.
Did that answer your question, Jeff?
Well, not quite, but yeah, I understand. It goes south on around 7th, is it? Or 4th maybe?
There's Southeast 4th Street is the street that kind of follows along.
So rephrase your
Right.
question, Jeff, if it's not answered, because I know that Greg really wants to answer the question. So, maybe he can get back to you with information. What's missing for you?
Well, it's through private property, I suppose, and industrial property. Where does it, what is it like? What is the creek like as it flows south from Depot Park area?
Well, I've written sections of it. Actually, this past Friday, I wrote a section with Ewan Thomas and his friends, and we were able to access a lot of it based on the trail, the Hawthorne Trail. You can access parts of it through there, and then we took a little offshoot, and then there's gates, but that's city or county owned. So I think there is an easement most of the way. So that it could traverse all the way down as a linear park. Yes.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah.
I agree.
That would be amazing.
You're here. I'd get my bike out if I had one.
Me too, Alan. Anybody else? Great job, Greg, answering these questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just
Anybody else?
another comment. The Larson brothers, it wasn't included in their proposal, but they suggested that one of the big old buildings that's on the GRU property could be made into a farmer's market, and then little stalls for people with antiques or whatever also.
So that's correct. And do we need to wrap up at 11, Sue? I just want to make sure, how are we on time? I want to answer Celia's question though.
Yeah, go ahead and answer Celia's question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we
So-
probably got to wrap it at
Yeah.
around 11.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to run over into your
Well,
services.
we can run a little bit longer because I think Peter's got a question too. Go
Okay,
ahead.
sure. Celia, on Celia's question, yes, there is a large warehouse building that has been, a lot of ideas have been shared, and I think farmers market would great. Another idea was for it to be art space. Another idea is for the art space could be dance. I know someone that lives in that neighborhood right behind it, that she's a dance instructor at UF and would love to see that turn to a community dance space. So lots of good ideas for repurposing some of the buildings that are already there. Yes.
Okay, Peter, let's make yours the last question. What you got?
I have noticed that there's a lot of places all over the country that have made decisions one way or the other about opening green spaces or paving them over. And I'm wondering, is anybody making a catalog of successes and lack of successes of other communities that have done this, so that when you're making the argument, you have a foundation of other successes that you can base your arguments on, rather than just speculation about what it might be here?
Peter, you hit the nail on the head. I'm a big believer in not reinventing the wheel. You see where things work and you see where they don't work and why. And so there has been a number of people that are involved in my steering committee that have been to places like Greenville, South Carolina, who they actually moved a highway, an interstate highway or a major highway that was traversing the creek or the river there, and they actually rerouted it. And that has become a major tourist destination for people in the region. So it's a draw, it's a financial win for the community there. There's other communities. I keep hearing about Asheville. I hear about, somebody told me about a place in Iowa. I think it's Des Moines,
Well,
Iowa.
how about San Antonio, Texas, where they opened up the river all the way through the town, and that's a major center for the development and the beauty of the city. And then San Antonio is not a small place.
Yeah, good call. You know, there's something that I've been hearing lately. It's the phrase as I'm going through this process that I'm learning is the idea of a sense of place. You know, what really makes the place special? You know, it's not high rises. It's not these things we see on 13th and University being built up. That's not what makes Gainesville special. It's the history. It's, you know, what our roots are and who we are as a people. So yes, definitely highlighting that central part of town like they did in San Antonio, that creates that sense of place, and that brings a lot of value, and it actually makes it attractive for families to want to be here and stay here.
Mhm.
Okay, I think we're going to have to wrap up, but I think I've got the emails from Celia, Sheila, Ellen, Timothy Clanton, and Jeff, as far as people who would like to be on the list. And Peter, we could always use your excellent research and argumentation. Do you think this is something you'd like to, hey, I mean, never say something if you don't want to volunteer, dude. If you're interested, Peter, I'm sure that Greg would love to have some help doing some of that research. Am I right, Greg?
You got it. Yes,
You know,
Peter.
I'm 85 years old. I'm a little hesitant to volunteer for anything these days.
Well,
Yeah,
think
but
about
this
that.
is all. On
Yeah,
my
I think-
computer.
I think you would enjoy it. It sounds like something you would enjoy, Peter.
85 years young. I love it, Sheila. All right. Oh, and Stacia just joined our group. Gotcha, Stacia. All right, great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. And most of all, thank you, Greg. What a fabulous presentation. Virtual applause. Yay.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak with you today and for being invited. And Sue, thank you for helping me get prepared for today. You guys, I understand you have a great church. I know a lot of people that go there, and so I'm very proud to speak with you.
Thanks very much. We will see you all
Take this
later.
on the road.
Adios.